push and the pull is very much to do with the split between male and female. So the majority of our conditioning, the vast quantity, the conscious side of our conditioning is to do with being the active, being the male, actually, recruiting the male aspect of ourselves, the doer, the thinker, the interferer, the creator. And that's actually very connected with the guilt complex as well when I think about it. But it's very, 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 we are very conditioned for the past maybe 2,000 years in action, activity, progress, fixing. And what's vastly needed is a balancing of that with the female aspect, which is allowing, receiving, undoing, destroying, letting die, letting go. Kabbalah. So this split, which we said yesterday at the end of the talk, is really a major split of the separate self, is showing up dramatically throughout our system. And in this happening of the personality, the resource that liberates the balancing movement between the active and receptive, the male and female, the expressive and the receptive side of ourselves, or the one that can receive impressions, goes with expression, is the quality of stillness. And silence by itself will sink to the heart, if it's allowed, and appear as this quality. It's not awareness, it's stillness. It's not frozen. It's the kind of stillness that allows all movement in any direction, the push and the pull, the expression and the reception, all in the here and now. And this can be very, very beautiful when silence deepens to stillness, and those two qualities can begin to blend. So you can find yourself
silence deepens into stillness.
Then it can become a blend of those two qualities. Silence becomes more still, and you find yourself listening to the stillness. And that's why I get a bit stuck with the receptive, because what happens then is our natural purpose begins to open up more strongly, which is as a channel of form, a channel of impressions, a channel of information in both directions at once. So there's this godly source of our true nature, which is moving when we're in stillness and silence, which expresses itself in freedom outwards through all the different windows of personality and all the different colors of glass. And there is the expression outwards with voice, with movement, with whatever, and there is the receptivity. But what's the person then? It's a channel, it's a tube.
A channel of form, and you said a channel of something, a channel of form.
And source.
And source.
It's all moving in both directions, and information, sorry. And this is incredibly fulfilling. This is what the person in its suffering is crying for, this kind of fulfillment. This is what takes away that sense of lack. It's so full of everything, and yet not determined by or limited by anything when the human takes this form. Empty. So the play of duality between male and female, and I take it to the raw psychological, and I pass it to Bart, who I'm sure is the king of this, to the play of personality in male and female, And
duality.
And duality, sorry, here the play of duality is that where there's been a big imbalance,
Where there's a big imbalance?
yeah, so we only accuse, it's necessary to experience the guilt, for example, in order for the innocence to appear, or the opposite. In that, the one side of any duality never gets left out. That means that when we're born as a female or a male, the balancing effect really means being able to utterly embrace and allow the inner female or male of the opposite gender within ourselves. Now this will show up, these kind of imbalances will show up in terms of certain kinds of contractions like difficulty in expression, the trauma of silence, too much doing, difficulty in receiving love, for example. That would be the male being more to the forward and the receptive, not able to, not even seeing that this is a possibility. It shows up in all the layers of being here in freedom. This imbalance between male and female, active and receptive. And of course it's riddled with trauma. And it's conditioned almost to death. You know, what a woman is and what a male is. So the only way we can purify it is to get a felt sense of the fullest experience of the opposite gender inside ourselves. And our own gender inside ourselves. Because sometimes what we feel is female isn't actually female, it's a male construct of female, and the opposite. So we're talking about direct liberation now through direct experience of what it is for us. And this we can only feel, we can't think it. So stillness, finding places of stillness and residing there really supports this balancing effect. At the same time that when there is a balance of the two, when the two merge, blend inside ourselves, when there is peace between them and freedom, stillness comes forward very strongly as a quality from beyond the person.
So, the stillness, I'm imagining that actually the stillness can be touched and come forward even if the full balance between all things has not been reached.
It's always here.
Right, so I don't need to necessarily to feel, whether it's feminine, whatever, the opposite, the imbalance, to feel it all, or to allow whatever part to come forth even more in order to get right. So if you can, whenever, say something about this, I have a sense of it, but maybe you want to say more of how to really use this silence, how to be able to be in this silence or this stillness as a resource for the imbalance, not just the experiencing of the imbalance or the opposite duality in order to touch silence, but rather how to use it actually to in service of. You understand what I'm saying? Okay.
So
whenever.
you know when you're driving really, really fast in a car
I do, absolutely.
and you can be perfectly still,
Yes.
or in an airplane. So that's kind of the experience of stillness. It's freely available.
Mm-hmm.
It's like wherever I go, I am here. It's the here-ness. It's connected with the here-ness. It's this place which never moves, which is there, available in any moment. So in practical terms, that means not grasping and not pushing away. Not engaging with the happening. Not believing too much in the happening. Let the happening happen in the field of awareness, stroke stillness, which I am. And that's just a mental flip.
Mm-hmm.
That's saying that stillness is not a freeze or doing nothing or bad or ineffective. It's getting rid of all that shit and recognizing that stillness is the resource of all happening. Meaning the effect of stillness is healing. transformational. It accelerates the happening. You wouldn't, it sounds paradoxical, but when somebody's just moving slowly through a process and you surround it by stillness energetically, the process accelerates. Because it's free then.
I notice in literally through movement.
Yes, exactly. And another thing, one last thing I'll say, and I pass it over to Bard. It's very, very important not to think of these qualities like silence and stillness, but I'll stay on the stillness for now, in opposition to the happening of feelings and emotions. There is the stillness of anger. There is the stillness of happiness. There is the stillness of peace. There is the stillness of jealousy. Everything. Stillness doesn't get left out of any happening. Every happening depends on stillness in order to happen. Movement depends on stillness in order to move, to have the space in which to move. The push and the pull depends on stillness. Otherwise we couldn't even have a certain speed or frequency. So stillness is a tremendous healing resource. And of course guilt says, I should do something, nothing's happening, is it good enough? Should I heal it? Should I get rid of it? This is all not stillness. And you can be in stillness and you can look to your right at your inner male and experience the inner male without leaving the stillness. And you can be in stillness and you can look to your left, your inner female, even whatever it is right now in terms of conditional form, and not lose the stillness. It's like the center line of the body, and the left hand and right hand moves, but neither of them can do anything without the spine, without the center.